Hello, I'm meteorologist Rob Cromark here at ABC 10, a TV station in Northern California, and we are in the midst of some really ugly temperatures and a very long-lasting heat wave. Now, you've probably heard about the forecast. There's been a lot going on, including fires that have broken out recently, so there is a lot happening at the moment. So our mind drifts to this. How do you cool off? Where do you go? What do you do to cool off during this heat wave? My focus for this is going to be on some natural areas that you can go and find in Northern California. We've got quite a few lakes and rivers that you can go to cool off. But it needs to be said that in these conditions, the water temperature is very, very important. And we have a huge variety of environments in Northern California where the water can still, even in July, be very cold, or it can substantially be a lot warmer, much more comfortable to cool off. You know, any of these numbers are going to be cooler than what we're looking at for the highs, 110 or so. So it is a relief. But if you start to get too cold and you just dive right in, lots of very bad things happen. There's been many, many stories and even occurrences this year of people going to a natural body of water, a river, a reservoir, a lake, you name it, and then getting shocked by how cold the water is. These numbers are for water temperatures. This does not equate to air temperatures. Water is much more dense as it surrounds your body. It very quickly starts to have actual physical implications that can be really bad if you're trying to swim and you lose control of your limbs or you're having a difficult time breathing. It can become fatal, and it has so far this year many times over. With that said, one of the famous spots to cool off is Lake Tahoe, but this time in July, the water's still coming in, and there frankly is not much snow left to melt, but there still is some trickling in. Right at the river mouths coming in and the creeks, the water is very cold. It takes a long time for Tahoe to warm up. It's still in the 40s and 50s. If you head out just a little bit, a lot of people like to raft the Truckee River. Just past the dam, it's still very cold in the 50s. So above the surface of the water in a raft, sure, it might be fine, but diving in or spending a long time in the river floating down, you're going to get cold quickly and stay cold. Now, a little bit lower in elevation, Lake Oroville, remember, just the top layer of water, it's in the mid-upper 70s. Along the Feather River, it's in the 60s. You get closer down towards some other spots, and it is much colder. Now, here's something that's really interesting about how this all comes together. The Sacramento River, after some of these bodies have released water, say from Shasta or Oroville, it spends time in the river, which is much more shallow and darker. It does start to warm up. So people can comfortably swim in the Sacramento River in the 70s. But then you get to a situation where Folsom Lake, at the top, 77 degrees. Comfortable to swim in. It's going to feel okay, much more relief than the air temperature, like I mentioned, 110. But then as they release water from the bottom of the lake, and then it goes into the American River, which then ultimately makes it to the Sacramento, it's very cold. It's in the 60s. One of the bodies of water right below Folsom Lake is called Lake Natoma, and that lake is always much colder than surrounding areas because, again, the water going into it is being released from the bottom of Folsom Lake, which is much, much colder. McKellamie, San Joaquin, Tuolumne, these spots are going to be warm and considerably much better than once you get toward the ocean. Our ace in our back pocket is the Pacific Ocean. We really rely on this to really supply some cooling even in the middle of a heat wave. The problem is that the water temperature is 60 for the bay and out toward the ocean in the mid-50s. The wind is not blowing from that direction to help to cool us down. In fact, the wind is keeping away some of that ocean-cooled air, and that's one of the reasons why we are going to be so hot in the coming days. Now, what about the actual lake levels? In spring, they were very full. In some cases, 100% for Oroville, which was way above average and a perfectly full lake. Shasta was in that same category, and Trinity, the highest it's been in years and years. But over time, with evaporation and also water releases for using water for crops, using water for farms, using water for cities, and ultimately to keep some level of cold water in the river so that the salmon and other species can survive, you start to see the water levels go down. This happens each and every year. It's part of the plan. It's part of the system. But even up to this date, most bodies of water are well above average, and they are approaching 70, 80, even 90%. St. Louis is a strange one because there's water being pumped out of the delta uphill into that, and then that's mostly used for agriculture. So as you can see, getting the crops up and going does require a lot of water, and that reservoir has come down. Now, with that said, we got to get back to the weather because that's what's driving some of these things, us focusing on bodies of water and places to cool down because we're in a very long, potentially record-breaking stretch of heat. We've had 3 days in a row, 100 or hotter. I think we're going to end up with 12, 13, maybe 14. We're beginning a new stretch of hot temperatures, 105 or above, and I think we're going to get to 7 or 8 days of those. And we also potentially get to 110 today. If we get one more in a row, we're going to tie the record for most days in a row, 110 or hotter. That is very difficult to achieve, but in this heat wave, we're going to have some opportunities. As this is being recorded on Wednesday, we have not hit our highs of the day so far, but we're definitely going to be well above 100 degrees going to day number 4 in a row. Some of the weather changes that are happening today is that we are going to get something that we call the delta breeze. Now, this is when we see the ocean air finally start to come in. This happens late in the day, the early evening. We haven't had it for a couple of days. We've had a lot of north wind, bringing up extreme fire risk, but we are going to get some level of cooling courtesy of the delta breeze. It helps to cool us down more rapidly, getting us down to the lows in the 70s further and faster in the overnight hours, but it's not going to be very strong. So it doesn't change or break the heat wave at all. It's just something we look forward to in the evening hours, and at least we're going to get something right there closer to 8 p.m. that will help locally us cool down. But until that happens through the day on Wednesday, still critical fire conditions. It's going to happen until the evening. We saw a fire break out yesterday. In fact, multiple fires could happen again today. So you got to be ready to move because these grass fires move very, very quickly. The temperatures you see here are going to be the hottest temperatures of the year so far with widespread triple digits plus for the lower elevations, 90s for the foothills with overnight lows that are very warm, and even some 90s all the way up to Truckee, which is about 5,800 feet. Some 80s sprinkled in there along the immediate coastline, but it's all about the extreme record-breaking temperatures that we could see today, near 112 degrees in Sacramento, making it easily the hottest day of the year so far. We rarely get to 110 plus around here. It's happened before. Some years, like last year, we didn't even get there at all. But this is where we're going. These are high impact weather days. That's why we shaded it in red to highlight the importance to you, your health, and others, because this is going to go through July 4th, which is Thursday, all the way through the post-holiday weekend and the beginning of next week. If you're looking for relief, we're going to get it, but barely, as we drift into the low 100s by the end of next week.